Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. I'm your host. I'm Christel, and on this show, I do my very best to bring the topics that I get will contribute something to you and riff in and around using my own life experience and all of the Access Consciousness tools. I'm so excited about this week. I love picking topics that I love. This one's called Fuckloads of Money. What does it take? What does it actually take to generate a ton of money into your world? And off we go to the races. So if you guys are listening to this somewhere in the future, I am at home. Hi Paolo, hi Deirdre, hi Andrea, but that's recorded live on Facebook. Hey Zeal, thank you so much. Hi Silvana. And I had a few of you send in questions today, so I'm going to touch on those as much as I can. There's only about 2, but thank you. And by the way, guys, when I ask you for questions, it is so helpful for me when you send them in, so I'm always so grateful when you engage like that. And thank you for being live. Hi, Lene. So the first thing I want to mention is that this episode is tied to a 30-day challenge that we are doing in the Awareness Challenge group on Facebook. And the link is right above my head. And if you're listening to this in the future, it's still relevant because it's a self-guided challenge that we do 30 times a day for 30 days, whoever is willing. And I've been doing these 30-day challenges for probably 3 years now. I have literally been for almost every day for the last 3 years doing some clearing, hi Rohan, some clearing for 30 times a day for 30 days. And look, guys, it's so fucking powerful. I got the idea from Gary Douglas. He's the one that put it all throughout the reference materials. Hey, do this thing 30 times a day for 30 days and see what shows up. So this particular clearing for this particular challenge regarding fuckloads of money is not one that he said do 30 times a day for 30 days, but I'm having it. So we are doing it. And if you'd like to participate, the link's right above my head, so you can do that while you're watching. But let's actually dive into this topic. Money always comes up as a topic, but I would say in the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been up all around me. My partner has been really changing his world in regards to money. He started a new job that didn't turn out the way he thought. And so there's a lot of conversations that he and I are having around money. And some of my closer friends have been struggling or wanting to make more. So I get this is relevant to a lot of us. And I am right now doing a 21 days of flowing, allowing money to flow like air into your life. So if you missed out on that, let me know and I can get you the link. But the reality that I am substantiating in my world is a reality of generating more. Now, for most of my life and what I was shown as a kid was how to create. Now, to create in this reality, you have to destroy. And I used to say, and I've heard a lot of people say, I just need to figure out how to create more money. Hi, Amanda. Well, the problem with that, if there is a problem, is that creation inevitably has destruction intertwined with it. Whereas generation is an ongoing, constantly expanding thing. So I was looking at this topic of what does it take to actually have just massive amounts of money coming into your life. And there's 2 things that I'm really, really aware of. The first thing Gary Douglas very clearly says, he's like, you have to choose to have greater amounts of money. And that's been one of the first questions that I've asked almost everybody that I've had a private session with, that I'm coaching, that I'm talking to, is I ask them, and this is what you can ask yourself, truth, have I chosen to have greater amounts of money, yes or no? Now, if you get a no, you don't want to sit there and judge yourself for that. You just want to have that as an awareness, because if you haven't chosen to have greater amounts of money, they're not showing up. And it's literally that simple. There is this other side to this. There's so many different facets to this money conversation, but the other facet to this conversation that I want to have, though, about fuckloads of money is that when your energy is going into creating, coping, and surviving, it is not going into generating more. And it's weird because we live in this universe of like infinite possibilities and infinite choice, but there's really only like ever two things going on. You're either living or dying. You're either generating more or you're busy surviving. You're either a yes or you're a no. So surviving and coping and avoiding and all of those things that go on in that dying camp take all your energy. Hey, Liliana, nice to see you too. Whereas generating a totally different reality, choosing greater amounts of money, is all your energy is going there. Now I do understand, because I am always in the generation of more myself. Like I'm in this alongside of you. Like we're in this together in our different ways, right? I do understand that there are different moments and different days where you go in and out of coping and surviving and into generation. I understand that. But what you got to start to look at is, where is the majority of your energy going right now? Is it going into generating a totally different financial reality, which would include educating yourself, finding every tool you can get your hands on, choosing greater amounts of money, finding all the ways that you can have and make more money? You know, that's generating a totally different financial reality. Or is the majority of your energy going into coping and surviving and trying to hold on to what you have so that you don't lose it? You can't do both at the same time. It's like you can't actually be partially pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. And that's how this works. You either love money and you're generating more, or you hate it and you're trying to avoid dying at its hand. Okay? So I found a section in the reference materials about coping or generating, and I want to read a little bit of this to you because I think it's gold. Okay? If you cope, okay, if this is what you're choosing, if you cope, you must always have a difficulty to cope with. So this is the other fucked up thing about when you are coping, and I know a lot of people that are doing this right now. I've done it a lot in my life. I'm just not doing it right now. But if you're coping, then you have to actually create new difficulties to deal with, because coping right now is like your valuable choice. So you have to then invent new difficulties to cope with. It's like the same thing of when you label yourself as a problem solver, you have to invent problems for you to solve, because otherwise you won't have a job. It's very weird. And the way around it is not just to clear it or like clear everywhere you're doing it. It's literally to choose something different. It's like when you are transforming your body, for example. The way to transform your body is not to like sit there and figure out why you got fat. It's to start choosing in a different direction, and then the fat just leaves, right? So it's the same thing with money. I like that I just said that. Sometimes I surprise myself. All right, so if you cope, you must always have a difficulty to cope with. Hi, Mary, how you wanna? Generation is being an energy that starts something into existence which hasn't existed. Generation is being an energy that starts something into existence which has not existed, and then you start to create it, and not the other way around. Creation are the steps that you have to take to put it into existence, and maintenance is what you have to do every day to keep it going. Okay? So when someone is involved, engaged in something, it's an ever-increasing thing. Like if you're fully engaged in the generation of a totally different financial reality for yourself, it's an ever-increasing thing. If you only maintain, it will start to fall apart. So you actually have to choose to stay generative in your financial reality for it to ever increase. Not just like cope and slide and not stay engaged, right? You have to actually stay engaged in the generation of more and more and more. You also have to upgrade. You have to use the generative energy, the creative energy, and the maintenance energy so that you have the platform from which to continue to build. So, and I've caught myself in these different phases over time. What's starting to change with all of these 30-day challenges and just my choices and all the things that are going on is like, I'm starting to choose to just continue to generate more instead of that start-stop, that survival mode, that like thing that we do where we get just enough and then we coast, and then we create just enough and then we coast. Like, I've given that up. I literally am like, what does it take? What do I have to choose, be, have, create, generate that's different to have an ever-increasing reality? That's a generative question, by the way. So you have to have the generative energy, and listen to this, and that's what people give up on first. Now, why do we give up on being a generative energy first before anything else? There's so many quote unquote reasons. Like there's so many things that we think are more valuable than being generative. And what is generative energy? What else is possible here that I've never considered is generative? I don't know if you can see it, and if you're listening, this is super not helpful, but I have a series of Post-it notes over here on the wall, and I just wrote a bunch of new questions for myself. These are generative questions. How many ways can I make money that I haven't even considered? Generative question. Is this choice going to create more possibilities? If it's yes, go forward. Generative question. What can I choose today that will create more possibilities and money right away? What possibilities are here that I haven't even considered? Generative questions. These are generating a different energy in the world. They're generating a different space. They're generating the universe contributing to me. They're generating a different reality that I can choose from. Okay? So you have to have that generative energy, and this is the one people give up on first. When they are creating any business, they will eliminate the generative energy in favor of what they have to cope with in order to get their bills paid. Oh my God, that one sentence by itself should be like a novel. When they are creating any business, they will eliminate the generative energy in favor of what they have to cope with in order to get the bills paid. So everywhere you're doing that, will you destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, online, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, that crazy statement, you can get more info at theclearingstatement.com, okay? But that just clears out, like, the limitations, so you don't have to understand it. So their business will grow to a certain extent, and then it stagnates. It doesn't go any further. They never generate beyond what will cope with their bills. That's their conclusion about what their life is about. If you are looking for your life to be something that's generative, you will look at all things from a different place. Now, the thing about this that I recognize so dynamically is that for some of us, or maybe all of us to some degree, survival has been like the only reality. And I've really been watching some of the people closest to me lately and getting so much information about this, because for me it's, after 8 years, 7 years maybe, of really committing to consciousness with all of this, I have a very different reality. But that's like 7 diligent fucking studying, living, being, eating the tools, becoming them. So I have a different perspective now, but when I got started with all of these, I didn't know anything but survival. And I heard that generative question, which is like, what energy, space, and consciousness can I be to generate a reality beyond this reality with total ease? And I went into a beyond, because I'm like, what does that even mean? I remember going to look for a reality beyond this reality. What does that look like? Trying to see it with my eyes, which is not what a generative question does or is, But at the beginning, like, coping and surviving were like the only reality that I had available to me. It's the only reality I cognitively knew. Everything beyond that was a non-reality. Thriving was a non-reality. Having total peace with money was a non-reality. Being generative with money, non-reality. I was so accustomed and so patterned and so habitually entrained to surviving that all that other stuff was just like so far out there that, like, if we could just get enough money coming in that I could get to classes, I was happy. Forget like actually taking care of myself in every other way, like actually taking care of my life. I was just like, look, I just want to add the next thing, which is getting to classes. And that, all of that's fine. It's fine. I'm just talking about it because I get it so much, how survival and coping seems like the way. But I'm here to tell you that it is like the least of what you're capable of. And when it's what you're choosing wholeheartedly and actively engaged in, you actually don't have the energy available to actively engage in generating a different reality. But you can start to choose it. You can start to develop and learn and cultivate the new muscles of generating a different financial reality. And that's what this is all about. Thank you so much, Kathy. So here's a little clearing for you from this section. What generates your life that you don't want to know? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What generates your life that you don't want to know? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And so this is where he starts to train us in how, which of course that's not really a how, but how to begin generating your life. And it's all of the questions from the very beginning that Gary Douglas ever gives us generate your life. So he goes, every time you're going to make a choice, ask, is this choice going to generate the life I want to have? So we have all kinds of choices in front of us all the time. Let's see. Last night I was having a conversation with someone and we were pinging choices, right? Like I was like, well, what about this choice? What does that create? What about this choice? What does that create? And I love doing that. I love pinging choices. I love saying things and seeing where they land. Does it make anything lighter if we consider this as a choice? Does it create more if we choose this? So I ping a lot, which freaks a lot of people out because I ping everything. I ping the end of relationships, the beginning of relationships, the end of a car loan, the beginning of a car loan, things that most people would consider fixed and immutable, I ping. Because I want to know, I want to get awareness of what a choice will create, especially if that choice, I've pushed it out of my reality as a possibility. Well, I can't possibly ping that because that's just fixed in stone. Those choices in particular I want to ping. Why? Because all form, all structure, and all significance is limitation. And my reality, when I'm being me, everything's mutable. It's mutable, it's changeable, it's available. I am having that reality. So I ping everything. So every time you're going to make a choice or you have a bunch of choices in front of you, ping them. Is this choice going to generate the life I'd like to have, yes or no? Now, part number 2 to this ping is you got to trust yourself. You have to trust your yes and trust your no. And it will give you so much ease. And then you'll know what to choose. Because when you get, if this choice will generate the life you want to have, and you get a yes, then you're going to know what to choose if what you're committed to is having the life you want to have. Follow the yeses, right? And they're not going to make sense, and they're not going to go in any linear logical order, but they're going to lead you to that, okay? Listen, this is, and then he follows it up with this. Most of you will never do that. Because you don't want to know what generates your life. And I had a moment in this past year, this was a big year for a lot of us, 2020, this year of COVID and quarantine and all the changes, right? I had a moment in this past year where I recognized that I was trying to straddle both realities. After 6.5 years, 7 years of really like deep diving the access consciousness tools, becoming a lot of them, changing everything. I don't even know how many times in my income, changing my whole entire life, every reality. I realized I was trying to straddle both realities. I was trying to keep one foot in this reality, and this reality is survival, coping, decisions, thinking, feeling, hurt feelings, stress, worry, all that's in this reality. And I was trying to keep one foot here and then one foot in the reality, which is just a totally different way of functioning. It's just different. There's no similarities. Instead of going to any conclusion about anything, you ask a question. Instead of deciding things, you just choose. Instead of, like anything that's normal, you do the abnormal thing and you go, wow, that's an interesting point of view. I wonder what other choices I have. Like you just live from a totally different reality. And I was trying to do both. I don't know, trying to market from one so that I could have the other. Anyway, recognized it and I fucking gave it up. Now, I'll tell you that I looked at giving it up for at least a month or 2 or 3 before I actually gave it up, and I chose like the reality. I'm having it. Question, choice, hi Tali. Question, choice, possibility, contribution, those things are my bitch. And the thing I was freaked out about is that I had no idea how much I was gonna lose in that process, right? Because we decide that this reality is super valuable, right? Like survival, if you let go of survival, will you die? If you let go of just coping in favor of just asking a bunch of questions and making a bunch of choices, will everything fall apart? I mean, not, you know, there was some really big, you could call them fears that I had. Like, maybe I'll lose my whole business. If I totally change the way I'm marketing, maybe everybody will go away. And for me, that was like the big risk. But the bigger risk was not committing to what was really going to create a totally different reality for me, which is question and choice and possibility and contribution and learning how and practicing being an infinite being instead of being a finite, limited being, which I was really good at. I'd gotten really good at over the years. I'd given up most of it, lots of it, but I'd never fully committed to me, never fully committed to like, okay, what is a financial reality from total question? If I'm really going to have massive amounts of money, what is that? What is that? What do I need to ask for? What do I need to cultivate in my world? What do I need to be so that I can receive that with ease? What am I refusing to be that I could choose to be? That if I would choose to be it, would allow that to show up with ease. For what reason do I want fuckloads of money? Who the fuck cares? Like, what is that for me? And really, really getting more present and conscious and creating from conscious space instead of just literally treading water. And, you know, I've come so far. So it wasn't even like like last year I was totally treading water, but I was still doing the straddle. So my question is what you've been choosing to be with money working anymore? Are you living or are you still dying? It's kind of shitty that there's only 2 choices there, but literally like you're either living or you're dying. That's how that works. And either one is a contribution. It's just, if you're doing one of them unconsciously, you're going to be having a hard time and not acknowledging it. And what would it be like to choose? I mean, commit to, choose to be the generative force for a different reality for you financially. And you know, like there's so many different ways that you can choose that. There's so many different ways you can choose to be generative, but you do have to choose it. And if you go back and listen to my episode, I think it was last week, where I gave the relationship story where I recognized that I had not actually yet chosen to be a generative element in the relationship. I was still surviving it. You know, you don't recognize that you're doing that until you do. But once you do, you can go, okay, so if I wasn't surviving my finances, what could I generate that's different? Okay. So here's a great other question that has nothing to do with it's a sister question alongside the, sorry, my notifications are going wild. It's a sister question alongside of the 30-day challenge that you can sign up for. What can I create or generate today that will bring me money right away? Now, here's the thing about questions, just for you guys that are sort of new to questions, and, you know, like, they're not for getting an answer. Questions are not for getting an answer. That's what you were taught in this reality. That's what you were taught in school, is you ask a question and you get an answer. That's not what generative questions are for. They're to open up space for everything to contribute to you. They're to open up space for you to have awareness. They're to open up the space of you so that you can actually have access to all of you, all choice, all contribution, all possibility. So it's just totally different. So when you ask something like, what can I create or generate today that will bring me money right away? Let it hang in the air. Just let it be there. Then go for a walk, have a coffee, drink a milkshake, have some sex, and then start choosing. And then ask it again. And then go have another coffee and have a beer and have some sex. Lots of sex. and let it hang in the air. And just let it hang and keep asking. And then ask the next question, and then ask the next question, and then ask the next question. But don't go looking for a fixed result, because that is not what questions are for. They're to generate a different energy. And when you are being a generative energy, different things will occur. You'll have different ideas, different people will show up, just different will show up, okay? It's about what you can generate and create. Maintenance, paying the bills, or coping with the chaos is something you will always do, because that's the thing, that's the doing which you think equals being, but it isn't. Maintenance from being would be, what do I need to do today that will keep this going right away? So like when you receive money, maintenance from being would be like, hey, what do I need to do today to keep this going right away? Now, even as I'm reading this, I can see all the different places and spaces where I've disengaged from being a generative element. And it is really uncanny how much every facet of our lives, money, relationship, business, invites us to being fully present. Turns out that's what this is all about, that when you're fully present and engaged as you, everything gets greater. And when you disengage, everything goes to shit. Same would be true of the earth, I would assume. So every single thing that we want more of is a facilitator for us to either disengage through judgment and survival and coping, or engage as a generative element and go, okay, what can I be or do to keep this going right away? What can I create and generate that would bring more money right away? Do you notice the level of presence and engagement in that? Now, what would it be like to up your level of presence and engagement? And how much do you check out? You check out with stress, with worry, with judgment, with fear, with survival, with coping, right? There's a lot of shit we do. And it's okay. All you have to do is stand back up and start again. Stand back up and start again. Okay, never mind. For the last 5 hours, I hated myself. I'm gonna stand back up and start again. What would it take for this to turn out greater than I could possibly imagine? How does it get any better than this? What can I be or do today to generate and create more money right away? Where can I look? Who can I talk to? Who can I connect with? What's available today? And all of a sudden, you are engaged again, being a generative element in your life. So we have a new choice in every 10 seconds. Don't use this conversation to make yourself wrong. Use this conversation to identify where you're functioning from and make a new choice if you'd like to. So I guess my wrap-up question is, are you being a generative element in your own financial reality? Yes or no? And if you get no, you can ask, what would it take to be a generative element in my financial reality? What would I like to generate here that I haven't chosen yet? And where can I start? Okay? And if you want to really cultivate this space in you, I want to invite you into the 30-day challenge that's right above my head. It's very aptly named the Fuckloads of Money Challenge. It's one clearing that you do 30 times a day for 30 days out loud. I support you by doing it myself, and there's a little Telegram chat that you can join us where you can use it to keep yourself accountable. And I'll be doing a couple more lives on this topic in the Awareness Challenge on Facebook. So you can search the Awareness Challenge on Facebook if you want another couple of conversations about this before you choose, okay? But otherwise, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next week.